And welcome back to another Inside Texas live show, joined here by Dave Myrick and perfect timing. This Daily Joy. We'll have one more joining the panel in just a moment. Dave, Joy, how are y'all tonight?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. And Joy, there's obviously the special reason that you're here, and I think I have a lot to talk about with you in particular. Dave, how are you, brother?
Doing good, Cord. Good to be with you guys. Just out of the woods in time to make it to the computer. Nick of time, but I'm here, ready to go. Can't wait to talk a little Brian Kelly and LSU and how in trouble Oklahoma is and how great Texas is. I mean, it's inside Texas, right?
Whoa.
Let's rock and roll.
Whoa. Two of those three things, I'm happy to talk about. But anyways, guys, real quick, y'all can hop on over to InsideTexas.com. Subscribe right now for $1. Leading place for in-depth scoops, recruiting analysis, all the fun stuff. The forums are they're cooking right now. And so get over there. It is the season. Plenty of content on a daily basis, articles up, game planning, the work. So get over there, InsideTexas.com. It's free to subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. Throw a like on this video for my friends. They are my friends. It's always fun hanging out with both of these folks. And we'll also have John Tweet Sports, John Smith joining momentarily, which, he's going to have a lot to say about BK LSU situation as well. But first, we're going to hear from Daily Joy. Daily Joy and I have been on the same page about it. Let's just call it not a great fit with Brian Kelly and the LSU, the Tigers down there. I've been very adamant about it. Joy has also been very loud about it. So, Joy, I just want to know how you're feeling. Where were you when the news broke? What was your initial reaction? I think on Twitter, most of us kind of, we have an idea of how you felt, but tell us what was going through your head.
Validation for starters, if I'm being honest with you. I just took so much crap for so many years. And then, year one, everyone's like, you're really a moron. And he made it to the SEC championship in year one. And, they're just, sweet John, I love you. So I was validated. I was driving home. I was in Baton Rouge. I went to the LSU A&M game. I was driving home. I got a text about noon from a former player that had been in the operations building when everything went down. So he had a little bit of an inside scoop. So he texted me around noon and said that it was a done deal, that they were just kind of waiting on, they thought the buyout logistics might have been navigated by that. Obviously, still not navigated. But yeah, so it was about noon. I was thrilled. It made the rainy drive all the way back to Atlanta completely and totally worth it. And I slept good once I got home, knowing I was going to wake up Sunday morning and he wasn't my coach anymore, or Monday morning and he wasn't my coach anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it truly, for just seeing you and how you feel about LSU football, almost feels like the handcuffs are off. It's like I can be happy. I'm free again. LSU, in my opinion, that they're going to make a good hire, because I don't think that they allow themselves to make another hire like that. Again, was never a fan from the jump. Wasn't really buying into all the talk this year. Love the portal acquisitions, but at the end of the day, you are a reflection of your head coach. Dave, what were your thoughts? Do you think it's too early? Would you have ripped the cord as well? No pun intended there.
It's kind of strange. I mean, the guy's 34-14, right? It's just expectations. Yeah, I cover Oklahoma, and you got a coach that's 28-19 for 3.5 years, 0-3 in bowl games, 1-3 against Texas. So I see LSU make that move, and while Oklahoma's staying with this guy, and it kind of has me asking, are the standards higher at LSU than they are Oklahoma? Obviously, the answer is yes. That wasn't good enough for the people in Baton Rouge, and I think everybody saw this coming. The culture fit with Brian Kelly from South Bend to Baton Rouge was never there. The guy just was like trying to stick a round peg in a square hole. But I thought he'd be successful. I really did. And I liked their team this year due to Garrett Nussmeier. And for whatever reason, injured, I don't know, has not been the quarterback that we thought. And so when your starting quarterback is not what you thought for a top 10 team, that typically doesn't bode well. So I don't really have a problem with what LSU decided to do. A couple of big openings now with Florida, LSU, and Penn State, and the candidate pool out there. I mean, it's going to get pretty crazy pretty quick, especially if Oklahoma loses a few more. That's going to be another one out there looking for head coach.
Yeah, some money flying around definitely in this offseason. It's going to be one of the crazier offseasons just from the head coaching carousel that we probably ever had. That being said, welcome, good friend Georgia John. How we doing? He is indeed SEC pretty. Welcome to the channel, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I didn't know I was going to be with these esteemed colleagues, but I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. We again a little late on putting my Wednesday crew together, but I know that these guys got my back almost any time. And so
Please, you should be late more often. This is an elite crew.
I'm saying,
Give it less thought and call all your backups. It'll be better, I promise.
backups, get out of here. John, talk to us. Let us know. I think you've spoken about how BK might not be the best fit at LSU and that it didn't have the brightest ending. But what are your thoughts, man?
Well, at first, who would have thought in 2022 when Brian Kelly beat Nick Saban in Tiger Stadium and won the SEC West in his first year, that we would be sitting here, 3 years later, and he's no longer the coach, right? I think we probably all should have thought that from seeing him, the way that he acted when he came in. There was so many articles about just how weird the transition was from Notre Dame to LSU, and not weird because of culture or anything else, but weird because of Brian Kelly. Like, the guy, he didn't talk to his assistants. People didn't know if they were going to have a job or not. Like, when he took the job, it was just a number of things. Corey Raymond is probably one of the better examples that ended up, at Florida, who was a longtime LSU guy, and maybe LSU, maybe he wasn't the best coach for Brian Kelly's staff or whatever, but he was the guy who was like, I didn't really hear from Brian Kelly. I didn't really hear from the guy, which is just wild. And so I think that transition probably said a lot. And then you just see, I don't know, you can always tell. You just can always tell when a coach is in the pressure cooker, and when it's a little bit, when he just doesn't know how to handle it, right? Like, you can always tell. And sometimes coaches turtle, and sometimes they kind of meander or say weird things or whatever. But Brian Kelly, like, for him to just continually fight the media, for him just continually, like, last year it was banging the table, this year it was you're spoiled. It was like, this guy just never, at the end of the day, it just never felt like the right fit off the field. And I think that's why you saw the results that you saw on the field. So I'm happy for LSU. For cutting the guy loose. I think it's definitely the right decision. And now, you just got to keep the governor from, running off all of your candidates by saying, we're not going to pay you and you're going to have all these performance metrics. And, you're the guy that you potentially might work for is not going to be part of your hiring process. So I think, like, all those things, if they can control the governor down there, which has not been an easy thing to do in Louisiana. It's like 100 years of crazy governors. So good luck. But other than that, I think it's a really good move for LSU.
I saw some Tulane fans that were like,
my mom was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, by the way. So I want to say, like, I'm not like,
and his mom loves me. Loves me.
Yes, I'm not dumping on Louisianans. My mom was born in Lake Charles. So
wow. For one, everyone loves you, Joy. For two, I kind of wish I'd have been born in Lake Charles. Maybe more of a little bit of a degenerate gambler than I already am, but who knows? It's crazy. I was going to say, I saw Tulane fans on the timeline like, why don't you care about us? Like, why don't you? Well, come on, buddy. Like, LSU football is a little bit more prominent in that state. Clearly, still pretty wild when the governor is getting involved. Obviously, you saw the comment about ticket prices, and then you saw the quotes from today. So, yeah, wild times indeed. And so that's what gives me pause. I'm also, as John said, I'm very happy for LSU. I think LSU fans are elite. I think that they deserve the coach that understands. And I think that's why Coach O was so great. That is not me limiting to bring Coach O back. I just think a person that understands LSU is a man of the people, not a guy that's fighting media, yelling at fans, telling fans how, that maybe not exactly the same words, but telling them the standard shouldn't be what it is for LSU. I highly disagree. I think that it's as easy to win at LSU as it is anywhere in the country. Again, one of the people that I think is one of the top couple of jobs in the entire country in modern football, 3 titles in this century, as much success as anybody that's not, Saban in Alabama. But when you see that, you see the governor getting involved. And like you just said, I do believe that some people will look at that and be like, I don't know, that's a mess. How about you, Joy? What do you think? Because I think at the end of the day, LSU is going to pull a really, really damn coach, and all of that stuff won't matter quite as much as At first I thought, I was like, you know what? Maybe no one wants to go there. A little bit of time processing it all, and I don't think at the end of the day it's a big deal. But how confident are you, Joy, in LSU going forward and making this decision?
I have mixed emotions. There is a part of me that is grateful that Woodward's not a part of the process, because he does have a tendency to go for bigger names that aren't necessarily like proven and giving them insane contracts. Now, I do find it absolutely hilarious that he is taking the responsibility for Bajork's decision to extend Jimbo Fisher that no one wants to talk about. Everyone puts that on Woodward too. That's not the case. But the reality is Scott Woodward has not been a bad AD. Scott Woodward made a bad head coach hire and the program that LSU values the most. But he also hired Jay Johnson, who's won 2 baseball national championships in the last 3 years. He went and got Kim Mulkey back from Baylor, brought her home. She'll retire at LSU and build a phenomenal women's basketball program back to where it used to be. So he's not a bad AD, but he has made horrific decisions at the head coaching position. And I think that alongside the fact that from what I've understood about this whole process, I just from the people that I've spoken to, there was a lot of back and forth about like what the governor was asking for versus what Woodward wanted in terms of firings, losing jobs, things of that nature. And ultimately, Scott Woodward knows, like, at the end of the day, like, he can only put his foot down so much. Like, you're arguing with someone, the person that has more power in the state than anybody. And so I don't love that the board of directors will put together a committee and then they'll vote on that. The only thing I can value is the fact that most people in the state and most people on staff at the university understand how important the football program is. And most, if not all, have ties to former players, former athletes in that category. So that gives me more hope, because you would hope that they would consult those kind of people, and that is who they place on the committee.
And Joy, couldn't it just be that the governor of Louisiana is batshit crazy and Louisianans just say crazy stuff all the time, and in reality, like, the process will be
it's just so funny, John, because the same people that are making fun of the governor are the same people being like, bring back Coach O. And I'm like, you realize they're the same person, right? Like we're all psychotic around here. Like those are the same 2 people. So one you're making fun of and one you want to bring back as our head coach. And I do think it's funny that it's always all these other fan bases that are like, bring back Coach O. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you do want to bring him back, because outside of 2019, you murdered us every other year. So y'all's opinions are really invalidated to me at this point.
I mean, I think Coach O was there to fix a couple things. He did that and more, won a title. Maybe they find a guy that just, hey, we want to fix culture. Because to me, that was a big thing that was missing at LSU was, hey, we don't look as physical, tenacious on the defensive side of the football in particular, not as sticky in the secondary. I mean, LSU for very long argued with our school on Twitter about being DBU. They're still pretty good in the secondary, but that front 7, I mean, it's head scratching at times. And so I don't know. I feel weird. I have pretty good confidence that they do hit a home run here, because so much money on the line. These kids are paid a ton. But again, as far as what they look like next year, who knows? Because then the portal's around, players can hop in the portal as soon as the coach leaves. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. Definitely a big offseason for LSU. That being said, Dave, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, and I need you to prepare yourself to talk about that game in Norman last week between Oklahoma and Ole Miss. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I did have Oklahoma winning that game by more than a touchdown, and I'm wearing it right now. I was wrong. Let's hear a word from our sponsor, Dave McClellan, real quick.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
Alrighty, guys, hit up Mr. McClellan when needed. Joy, we're coming for you. So we're out here coming. Sorry, wrong comment. There's the right comment. Yeah, so we're coming from the recruits. They do have obviously a very attractive recruiting list. Gonna have to find a guy that can hold on to that. But then again, I'm sure there's some boosters and donors around that try to make that a little bit easier. Joy, I mean, I'll let you answer the question for Mr. Steve here. Any chance that LSU brings Nick Saban out of retirement?
No, and I just wish y'all to all just go to bed. Like, just go to sleep and wake up in reality. Begging you.
Yeah, so I'll say this before we move on to Oklahoma and Ole Miss. I was at a golf course yesterday, and there was a group of gentlemen outside of the clubhouse talking as I was like walking towards the range. And one guy was like, "Well, you just had to fire your coach." I assumed it was an Aggie and a Tiger, kind of arguing a little bit. And he was like, "Yeah, well, it only cost us $20 million because of the morality clause." And I was like, "Hey, man, let me just ask you something. Like, who do you want to hire?" And he said Urban Meyer. I immediately just turned around and kept walking. I didn't listen to another word that he said. Not that I don't think it'd be a good football hire, but I mean, it's just we go right to the top. We're like, oh, we got to get the best guys that have proven, guys that have won all the titles. And there's no other good or alternative options out there for you. Pretty good one, in my opinion, just down the road in their own state. But I'm sure that name will get passed around a time or two. All right, Dave, last week, big game, 11 a.m. in Oklahoma. Again, wearing it on the head. I had the Sooners in that one. What went wrong there, Dave? Maybe Ole Miss just a little bit better than I give them credit for.
If you need to keep telling golf stories to postpone this game and talking about it, you're good, man. That was ugly. It was 3.5 years of Brent Venables, the culmination of what he's trying to do in Norman. You've got it. You've got momentum. You're playing home. You're a favorite. You saw coming. You look good. One thing after the Brent Venables teams in Norman, this time a fumble on a punt return when you got it set up at the 50-yard line with 7 minutes to go. You're down 4. That's what you want at home in these games to go win that thing. And if it hadn't been that, it would have been a penalty. If it's not the defense giving up a drive when they played great the entire game, it's the offense with a turnover. It's almost staggering at this point. I don't know if the guy's snake bit or it's just a lack of discipline across the board as head coach at OU. Whatever the reason is, he cannot win these games. And that puts so much onus now on this Tennessee game in Neyland. I don't like the chances for OU to go win a night game in Neyland if they can't beat Ole Miss at home. Yeah, Ole Miss is good. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss tore them apart. They tried zone in the first half. He tore them apart on those deep in-breaking routes. So they go to man-to-man. He eats them up on the ground because everybody's running in coverage, no eyes on the quarterback. They try to spy. Couldn't keep up with the guy out of the pocket. He only I think 24 or 44 passing, not that great, but 316 yards. And it seemed like every single one were crucial third down conversions that OU could just not get off the field. So it's so weird to watch this for over 3 years now. They're so close. I hate to say that, so close to getting over the hump. And you think this year with the defense and John Mateer and the moves they made and Ben Arbuckle, it's going to be the one. And I hate to break it to you, Cord. Texas isn't that great, and Texas beats OU on a neutral field. Ole Miss is not that good. I mean, they're a good football team. Are they as good as last year with Jackson Dart and those guys? No. And you've got them beat on your home field with the number one defense in the country and can't hold on to it late. So that's problematic stuff. Start talking about it already ramping up here, bring him into the year on the hot seat, starting off 5-0, got everybody off of his ass.
Hold on, Dave. We're having some audio issues with you, brother. See if you can fix those real quick. I'll get you unmuted there.
You got me?
Yeah, sounds better now.
Yeah, you lose to Texas. I mean, the fan base doesn't dig that, of course, and then you lose that one, and the talk is starting to ramp up now. If you go on the road and things don't go well against Tennessee, your next game is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, against a really good Crimson Tide team. So that there was so many reasons to win that one last week. But first and foremost is to postpone the inevitable of what's coming now with Brent Venables and this fan base. You win that one, you go in with one loss, Tennessee, that gives you some breathing room. Now you don't have it. And every single loss starts more and more pressure on what's ultimately coming at the end of this year. So it was a bad loss for Oklahoma. I don't really know where to tell you what went wrong. All of it. I mean, it was an embarrassing loss for the fan base, for the coaching staff, the players. That's one you got to have, and they couldn't do it.
Well said, man. I'm not disappointed to see Oklahoma struggle, but it's disappointing as a fan of good football to watch the O line, Ben Arbuckle, and John Mateer, because I think they all play a hand in the offensive struggles at times. But then again, Mateer, I mean, I'm going to probably give him a little less blame than the others. You got to run the dang football, man, and commit to it. You busted out and ran the football in the third quarter, and then you just completely go away from it late in the game in crunch time. Again, just a little bit confusing to me. I do think Ben Arbuckle is going to be a really good OC. We've talked about this, Dave, but I've had a couple of question marks now in his two big games, so I guess if you will, with Texas and Ole Miss, or the two losses rather. John, what were your takeaways from that one? I know you're pretty well acclimated with the Rebs.
Yeah, I mean, Lane Kiffin. I was at Ole Miss, Georgia, a couple weeks ago, and saw firsthand, up close and personal, the way that Lane Kiffin has been coaching that offensive side of the ball, especially, right, where using the ability to talk to the quarterback to basically, give what the defense is in, the ability to make, adjustments at the line and all those things. What I thought was so interesting was Lane Kiffin clearly outcoached Brent Venables, who is one of, has historically been one of the best defensive coaches in college football, and outcoached him in those kinds of things, right? Where they did the thing where they stayed in the huddle until under 15 seconds so that Oklahoma couldn't communicate in the helmet to the defense to see when Ole Miss lined up, right? The things that he was doing, he did a lot of the opposite of what he did at Georgia, which I thought was just, I mean, you got to tip your hat to Lane Kiffin. I think it was a bad loss for Oklahoma for sure, but that was some good coaching by Lane Kiffin. The way that he utilized all of the resources available to him and did it in a way where at Georgia it was different. At Georgia, they come up to the line, get set, and the clock would be running. He would want Georgia to get lined up so that they could talk to the quarterback. And then early in the game in Oklahoma, and maybe he just thought like, oh, that's what they're going to expect, so we're going to do the opposite, right? We're going to stay in the huddle. And I just thought that was just really good coaching. And I think separate from what's going on with Brent Venables and and John Mateer being hurt and Oklahoma having another season that isn't living up to expectations, Lane Kiffin, he's becoming a tough coach to beat. Like it's, last year you had that loss to Oklahoma. Like you seem to have these duds, and he seems to be pretty dialed in with what he's doing, and pretty dialed in ways that are different than just lining up and and trying to beat you with some of his play calling. He's doing a lot of things around the play calls and around just the approach to the game that I thought was really good. And I hate it for Brent Venables. I like Brent Venables. I think, I think he's a good coach in terms of just, I think he has a lot of what you would want from a Oklahoma head coach, right? He checks a lot of boxes, but he continues for whatever reason to get out coached in the game. And it's not like that's going to happen. Like you saw with Kalen DeBoer last year at Alabama. Like sometimes, you get these SEC head coaching jobs and you're just in the pressure cooker in those first years. Like sometimes you just make mistakes. You just get out coached. That happens. But this being this far into his tenure at Oklahoma, and continue to just seem like getting out coached. It's not. There's a lot of reasons why Oklahoma season has gone the way it has, but a big part of it is just Brent Venables letting guys just be more clever than him, and I think that's tough to recover from in this league with the minds that you got and the resources and everything you got available to you. So a lot of those boxes that you check, you got to also be able to be a good in-game coach. And I think that's where Brent Venables has really struggled.
Yeah, I can't argue that. Texas lined up and ran outside zone running concepts that they've ran the last 3 games or last 3 years against Oklahoma, and had the same success they've had the last 3 games with Oklahoma. You know what I mean? And that's something that we've not done versus anybody else. And so I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Brent. I think he's a really nice guy, but I also think, like Dave just said, the inevitable may be approaching faster than Sooner fans wanted. When you look at that finish, Dave just talked about at Tennessee, at Alabama. Hey, you got 2 home games to end the year, cool, but you do have I guarantee you it's going to be a hungry and feisty LSU team in Missouri, who I actually like this Missouri team a pretty good bit. Definitely stinks that Bo Prabula went down, but it's only an ankle injury. He'll be back. Maybe he's back for that one, maybe not. But either way, it's going to be a tough road. Missouri has a good front seven. Lots to like about LSU without Brian Kelly, in my opinion. I bet we see a pretty motivated Tiger squad. But Dave, are you putting in your call, man? Do you think this is? I'm not clipping this or anything, but do you think that this is it? Do you think he survives this 4-game stretch?
I mean, here's what Oklahoma fans will ultimately have to ask of themselves. I don't think they win at Tennessee, at Alabama. They come back home, they get LSU. LSU is what they are this year. They've got athletes all over the place, kind of in limbo right now. Not really sure what's up with Nussmeier. Missouri at home, I kind of like Oklahoma's chances. They got a really good run game. That is where Oklahoma, if they're not playing Texas against outside zone, is really good in the front seven. So, okay, great. You win those two and you go 8-4. Is that good enough at Oklahoma? Is that where the bar is now? Is that to say, yay, we're happy because we had a really tough schedule and we won 8, so let's keep the guy. He's now 31 and whatever that would be, 22. I don't know, because it's kind of a loaded question right now. There are pros and cons. Do you get rid of him and lose your 27 recruiting class? It's number 1 in the country. A really good 26 recruiting class. 50% of your defensive roster is probably gone. Arbuckle gone. There are a lot of things to weigh here. Or do you say, hey, is he learning on the job, cutting his teeth at Oklahoma, getting better each year? Do you allow him to keep building this offense, because it's the one thing not quite there yet with the team, and keep stacking days? I mean, it's going to be a decision to make. But in the end, I think if you start off 5-0 at Oklahoma and finish 8-5, you got a problem. And yeah, I think that will be the writing is on the wall. If that happens, he will not be back next year.
It's really hard to see Sooners putting up with another 7-5 season, and the big issue for me is the overturn on offense every year. You have a different quarterback, you have a different offensive coordinator. The running backs have never really lived up to be what the recruiting hype was, and all those things combined. He's done a good job with the defense, but they've still shown, obviously, like John just mentioned, they can be out coached there. The secondary doesn't match the front seven. I'll say that. I think there's some good players in that secondary, but again. What a game. Lane Kiffin is not afraid of a microphone, and he doesn't care who's around. There's lots of stuff before that game, after that game. Joey, I'm not going to talk much about A&M at LSU because, for one, it makes me sick to think about, the Aggies having fun at Death Valley there. But did you have fun at least? Did you have a good moment, a few good moments in there?
Yeah, I had the best time. I obviously was in Omaha earlier this year for the College World Series. So I literally went back and tailgated with all the people that I was in Omaha with. And we spent 13 straight days together. We were like family at the end of that. So yeah, we had a great time. I took my best friend and her fiance. They had never been to any really big SEC game. So I took them. I was able to finagle sideline passes. So they got to have the real big, full experience. And driving home, I was angry until noon, and then I was happy. But I was also just really grateful because it felt like everyone that I really loved and cared about was all in my favorite place in the world. And seeing them learn to love and appreciate it the way I do. Emily was like, okay, now I understand why you are the way that you are. I'm like, thank you. I'm normal around here.
You can still learn a lot during a loss. Had that happen last night. I went to the Texas State game. They got their teeth kicked in, but my little flag football guys had a heck of a time. I'm glad to hear it because I was a little concerned for you. I knew that you were out there, and again, you got a little bit of a history battling Aggies on the old Twitter timeline. So just making sure you're still good.
I'm good. I intentionally did not fight with anyone because I thought what was going to happen happened. I actually have a text between me and Billy Lucci, where I sent him a text and I said, I will not be talking shit this week. And he said, neither will I. And so we called a truce just for the week. And he obviously started immediately after they won, but rightfully so. If I hadn't done something in 31 years, I'd want to celebrate too.
Yeah. A well-timed truce because, again, I think A&M fans obviously felt a little bit more confident going into that game. I was honestly surprised how confident they were going. But with some of the injuries and obviously the offensive issues, I get it. Heck, we may be on their menu soon too, which is really cringe to say. All right, guys, we're gonna hear a word from our. I know I don't want to think about it. It's really hurting to even put that into existence, but maybe the jinx list. We're going to hear another quick word from our sponsor, Luxe Kitchen and Bath, and we'll get into previewing a little bit of this weekend's coming SEC Bowl.
Are you ready to love your kitchen and bathroom again? Luxe Kitchen and Bath will bring that to life. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring your dream vision to life. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team also provides full home remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today, or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get your free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE, or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Contact info is in the description.
Alrighty, guys. I mean, and for any Texas fans wondering, if we didn't touch on Texas and Mississippi State, obviously a crazy game. That game has been touched on plenty on old Inside Texas channel. And, we'll be talking a little bit more about it tomorrow night when we do our What You Gotta Know show. So great times. I'm going to ask y'all real quick, couple thoughts, couple words. When y'all saw that play out, I went through the mental blender on Saturday afternoon. I think, it was tough. John, what do you got?
I mean, Jeff Lebby, the view of him on the sideline, if y'all like, there's a part, I think it's when Texas took the lead. I can't remember. There's a view of him on the sideline where he looks like a guy who like took his car to the mechanic and like said, "Hey, I've got, like a check engine light on," and they came back and like, you need a whole new car. Like he just looked like a guy that was like, I can't believe what is happening right now. And I was just, that moment was another one of those where it's like, wait, is that the right guy? Is that the right guy for this situation? Because I can't think of a worse way when you have a 15-game SEC conference game losing streak and you're at home and you've played that way for a game to go down. But that look on his face said it all to me. I think, what's interesting is Jeff Lebby is another one on the different side of the ball, obviously, but another one like Brent Venables, where it's just a situation where the guy is just getting out coached. Like you watch Mississippi State play football, like they have good football players. Like you watch Mississippi play football, and you got Mississippi State fans, lounge dog, blocking their own football account on Twitter. That's it. That's the Mississippi State experience. Their own fans are blocking their football team on social media. It's just a guy who just continues to get out coached. He has players. I mean, you watch him play. You watch Mississippi State play. What I like is they do have they come out and they expect to compete. It feels like they expect to win the game, right? They have guys playing physical. They've got guys making plays. They seem to be in good situations to make plays a lot of times, but then the ability to finish the game and just continue that is just not there for Jeff Lebby. And I don't know, again, it's hard, man. It's hard in this league. It's hard in this SEC. It's hard. Watch Georgia. Good Lord. Georgia has trailed at halftime like 9 of their last, 10 or 11 games versus Power 4 teams. Like it's like, but like Georgia, the Alabama game, Georgia lost, but Georgia shut Alabama out in the second half. The Auburn game, Georgia, was losing at halftime, come out, held them to 40 yards and shut them down. It's like you have to be able to finish a football game. You have to be able to figure out like, okay, yep, we either you're in control or not in control. Either way, you got to be able to finish in the second half of a game. And for me, that's Jeff Lebby's biggest problem this year. I do think I'll give him credit. I do think he's built a good roster. I think he's got much better players and a much better team than he had last year, but you got to be able to coach him up. On the flip side, shout out Texas. like Steve Sarkisian, they just keep finding ways to win. Again, team's got a lot of good players, a team that, at times it seems like that Steve Sarkisian is getting out coached a lot this year. But the difference is I used to have a football coach in high school who would in the fourth quarter, we did the whole thing, even in the 90s, us old asses were holding up the fort, whatever, before the fourth quarter. And he would go up and down the sideline. It's winning time. It's winning time. It's winning time. And that's what separates us. Like when it's winning time, when it's time to be like, you know what, it's time to go win the football game. Steve Sarkisian has for the most part, has found a way to do that at Texas, and Jeff Lebby has not. And that's one of those, I do feel like at some point that's either you have it or you don't. And I, shout out to Lounge Dog. I mean, I have no idea how a person could be a Dallas Cowboys fan and a Mississippi State fan at the same time during football season. It feels like
mac and cheese with no cheese.
And eat mac and cheese with no cheese. The mac and cheese. Well, I can understand why you make mac and cheese like that if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or a Mississippi State fan, because
you're a masochist.
Yeah, well, everything is good. Everything is going to be mid in your life, like if you're during football season. It's like I feel like the experience of being a Dallas Cowboys fan and a Mississippi State fan is like sliding down a giant razor blade into a bowl of rubbing alcohol. You know what I mean? It's just like a constant pain.
Imagine having to watch both of those defenses on back-to-back days.
Come on.
With Lounge, we love you, man. But I am sorry for the dagger that Texas probably put through you on that one, and it is a little bit of Mississippi State's own. No, I'm not at all, because I was in shambles.
Call him out, Dave. Call him out, Dave.
I thought there was a chance we lost that game. I mean, I got on the timeline and predicted a 24-16 game with 12 safeties. I didn't make a serious prediction going into last week. I was worried about it because of us being on the road for a few weeks in a row and just travel depth. Just being a little bit tired from playing so much defense at Kentucky. But I didn't expect the fourth quarter, not by any means. And again, Sark, if you're listening, we went quick spread and we started throwing the ball around and it worked pretty well. Just throwing that out there as a reminder. But
dude, y'all were beat. I mean, don't kick it. Don't kick it. That's where that team is right now. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what to say, man, because I was in disbelief there for a moment. Ryan Niblett, the lore around him. I said we weren't going to talk about this game. We've been doing it for 8 minutes now. I am sorry, Lounge. I genuinely am. For me, though, I agree with you, John. He does have a better roster. Mm-hmm. He has improved it. He took over a really nasty situation there after Arnett. Wasn't going to be easy for anybody. But yeah, and I know people give Sark a lot of heck for it around our parts, but winning is hard, and especially in this league. It's not an easy thing to go into the road. Obviously trailed by 3. So it reminds me of, back in the Big 12 days, Dave will remember this, but Texas back-to-back years, 04-05, trailed Oklahoma State by 3 scores at halftime, and then outscored Oklahoma State 77-0 combined in those 2 years. And so it took me back to my childhood a little bit. I was like, all right, hey, maybe a Vince Young's coming around the corner. But no. So with that being said, we have to go ahead and talk a little Texas Vandy. Joy, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on Vanderbilt? What are your thoughts on Diego? I'm mixed. I love Diego coming into this year. The confidence level's gotten pretty dang high, and not to knock a kid. But how do you feel about this game for Texas Vandy? Just what are your thoughts on the matchup?
I was kind of at the same level you were of okay, this is a cool story. You love the kid that comes in and takes Vanderbilt from someone no one cared about to being a priority on their schedule. That's the kind of legacy you would desire to leave. And then he freaking practiced victory formation in Tuscaloosa on Alabama's field. And I was like, I hate the kid. I hate him. I despise him. He's got to go. And then he didn't practice it at home against us and still kicked our butts. And so at this point, I can't have anything but respect for what he has done for Vanderbilt, what he's done for Clark Lee, let's be honest, what he's done for that university, things of that nature. I think those are things and tangibles that we'll look back and go, that was the year that Vandy shifted from a pretender to a contender. It was when Diego Pavia got here. We'll all remember that it'll be easy to remember that he acted just like Johnny Manziel too, but that's just because it's seared in our brains at this point. But I think he's the real deal. And I think he's also playing really loosely because he has nothing to lose. Like, he's already made it clear he's not coming back for another year of eligibility. He will obviously go. Some team will draft him. He'll have his fun NFL experience, but you can tell very much by like any of the stories the kid tells. Like, Vanderbilt believed in him and he wanted to be the person that helped put them on the map, and he's done exactly that. And so he's playing loosely and freely because he can, because he's just having fun and is genuinely like just happy to be here and to enjoy the experience.
And that's why it's hard to knock, because that dude's got a smile on his face 24/7, and it's like riling teammates up. He loves the experience. And so it reminds me of like a Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, guys that were always going to be the most fiery on the field. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I wouldn't mind my quarterback if he was like that. With that being said, real quick, guys, let's go ahead and pop up the injury report for this game, because there is a couple of bigger topics than your average injury report when you consider the name value. Weird way of saying Arch Manning listed as questionable in this game, coming and being in concussion protocol. We did see a picture of Arch Manning, driving around yesterday, which is good, because some concussions, you don't want to see the light of day. So, and he didn't just see the light of day; he saw a couple other lights out there too. He saw some lights. And so you can see there Cole Hudson listed as questionable, would maybe a little bit of a boost for Texas at center. I thought Sawyer Robinson played a little bit better last week than he did in Kentucky. And then the other name there, Michael Taft, coming off of thumb surgery. You could tell Texas missed Michael Taft on Saturday, his communication on the defense, considering the tempo that Mississippi State was using, and that got us at times. And then probable for Aaron Butler. Nothing too crazy to note on the Vanderbilt side of that. But Dave, if Texas doesn't have an Arch Manning, we got some fans that are like, that's a good thing for Texas. We got some fans that are like, no, y'all are idiots to say that. What's the outsider's perspective on just this Texas offense, this matchup, and if it is indeed Matthew Caldwell's QB2 play up, taking over the reins for a day?
Don't kick it to Ryan Niblett. That's the outside perception right now. You don't do that, and you got a good chance to beat Texas. I mean, your front seven is probably the best in college football. You got one of the best defenses around that's going to keep you in every single game. I think much like Oklahoma, the run game, you guys have to try to find that and take pressure off of Arch. A little late, 8-9 weeks in the season, but he's your guy, man. He was preseason Heisman favorite for a reason. He was a 5-star quarterback for a reason. I think he's insanely talented. Just getting acclimated to big-time college football is taking a while. But if he's healthy, you got to roll with Arch. I mean, that's where Texas' future is, and that's where Sark kind of placed his faith. So you got to go with him. But if it's the backup, I fully expect that Texas defense to shut Vanderbilt down to an extent to allow Texas to hang around till the fourth quarter, maybe even overtime, and come back to win the thing. That's how good they are, and that's the formula they have to use to win this year, because the offense is not the explosive Sarkisian offense we've seen since he's been at Texas. Just win by doing it a different way, but they're good enough to do it. They got enough athletes to pull it off.
I think that's well said, brother. I think we have the big advantage, from the athlete standpoint. And so hopefully that's ultimately what the difference maker is. If our defense or front seven can corral the misdirection and handle all that. What do you think, John? Who you got in this one and why?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb, but I think Vandy is going to win this football game. And here's the situation. Everybody's talking about Diego Pavia, right? Like everybody, that's the whole kind of Heisman, the whole deal. But this Vanderbilt defense is not getting enough credit or enough press. Yeah. And the culture, when you watch Vanderbilt play, first of all, just the culture that Clark Lee has built. I mean, this is another team that has no business, let's be honest, really has no business thinking they should win these games, right? But they go out and they think they're going to win the game. And that's Clark Lee and his culture that he's put in. But the biggest thing that he's put into me that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is the physicality, right? The physicality of the Vanderbilt defense, which is just, I can't even believe I'm saying it. It's like every time I say it, I'm like, am I really talking about Vanderbilt this way? But dude, Vanderbilt, like their front seven is playing physical football. Their secondary are running with some really good wide receivers and making some good plays. I mean, they're at a place where, I thought it was you watched Vanderbilt and Mizzou last week, and it felt like, Alabama LSU, like game of the century, 3-3, at halftime. It was like, what is going on? And I know, it's like, but again, I just think at the end of the day, I think Clark Lee just has Vanderbilt playing not just good football, but playing SEC level football, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so I think for me, I just give Vanderbilt, a little bit of credit there.
It's hard not to like the squad, man.
Mhm.
The offense is really fun to watch. Like you said, the defense is swarming. The only thing is, like, they don't have the blue chip talent, if you will, that the top end SEC rosters have, but they find ways to win. It's going to be a war. I don't think it would be an upset, as either way, whoever wins this. I don't care about the spread. Don't care about the rankings. I think teams are pretty similar as far as what they can do on the field. Can Texas block Vanderbilt? Something I never thought I would ask coming into the 2025 season. Just going to be honest, didn't have that one playing out the way that it has. I have it as a low scoring game. I think it'll be a 4-quarter war. In my opinion, if we can't get out on top, I'm going to be pretty fearful that Vanderbilt finds a way to win this game, just because, like you just said, that the culture of Vandy and them finding ways to win. I don't want to be in a tie ball game going to the fourth quarter. Like, give me a couple score lead and let us hang on tooth and nail. But again, this Texas team, I have to give them credit. They found ways to win a low scoring game 2 weeks ago, a high scoring game last week. It's the bottom of the SEC. Much bigger challenge this week. Much like Oklahoma, Texas has an absolute, a much different slate coming up in November than they had in October, as far as, name brand opponents and what they've done on the field this year. I am nervous. I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I'm not. We'll see. I definitely expect the defense. It's good to be home again. Shout out to anyone watching right now. If you're good, get to DKR, go support these guys. I haven't been home since September 20th. It is almost Halloween. So not complaining. Part of it. We watched A&M have a schedule like that maybe last year, year before. So, I mean, it's just kind of how the schedule falls every now and then. So I'm really not here complaining about it. Just saying it's going to be nice to be at home. Hopefully that may be the difference maker. John, you got a big one yourself, man. Some call it maybe we'll give it the third best rivalry in the SEC. Some people call it the greatest outdoor cocktail party in the world. I don't know if that's even allowed to say in 2025. You just never know. I've seen a lot. I asked a question today. You said, say it with your chest or don't say it at all. Who gets upset this weekend? Way more Georgia answers in there than I anticipated, to be honest. How are you feeling about the Gators and the Dogs?
This is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It will always be the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Thank you.
And I think, what I love about Florida, this has happened a couple of times in the last few years, where Florida and Georgia always have a bye week before this game, right? It's like maybe they've had a bye week for 100 years before this game, it feels like. They both have a bye week, and during that bye week, it seems like every year Florida fans convince themselves that this is the year that Florida's gonna beat Kirby Smart. And I think I understand where they're coming from, because as a teenager in the 90s, I always try to convince myself that this is a year that Georgia is going to beat Florida, right? Like, it was like, this is the year we're going to beat Steve Spurrier. Like, it's that whole, kind of that hopeful mentality just builds like during the bye week and the lead up to the game. But at the end of the day, like I think Florida fans blamed a lot of stuff on Billy Napier, and I think rightly so. I think Billy Napier, there's a lot of things that he did that were not good for that program or good for that team. He's a guy who consistently, seemed to get out coached. But I will say, like, Billy Gonzalez, the guy they're putting in as the interim coach, there's not enough changes on that team that you can make in a bye week for Florida to win this football game. It's just, I mean, there's a lot. They'll have a lot more like momentum. I think they'll have a lot more juice. Billy Gonzalez is a really good guy. He definitely has been around the Florida program a long time. But at the end of the day, you got to line up and you got to play Kirby Smart and Georgia. And that Georgia offense, I don't think Florida is in a position to be able to slow down Gunnar Stockton, that Georgia offense that we saw versus Ole Miss. Even though Florida, has had some really good games, but Florida is allowing I had to look it up here, 7.4 defensive, 7.4 yards per pass play on defense, which is one of the worst in the SEC. And they're also, just on offense, they're just not good at all. In terms of offensive success rate is like 42%. And so I think those two things are going to be the things. I think Georgia's going to be able to throw the ball, and I don't think Florida's going to be able to move the ball enough to keep up with Georgia. And so I think it's going to be a pretty one-sided cocktail party. Now, I'll also say this: I think Florida could certainly, any team, we've seen it this year, any team can show up and surprise anybody, right? I mean, that's what the SEC has seemed to be this year. But I've just seen Kirby Smart enough, especially with interim coaches and a bye week and all these things. It's like the last thing he's going to do is give that program that he grew up hating, that he played against and lost against, that he, that put 52 on him as a safety in Georgia's stadium when he was a freshman, and ran up the score. The guy has some deep hatred in his heart for the Florida Gators, and I don't think he's going to give them any hope whatsoever that their program is going to head in a different direction. And so I think because of that mentality, I think Georgia's going to win by 14 plus. I just don't think it's going to be close.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, man. I don't think you said it really well. They won't be able to match the points. Florida's defense, they're gonna give up some big plays. They've shown, like you just said, 7.4. I mean, Texas offense was pressured 36 times in that game, but it felt like every time we got a pass off, it was to a wide open receiver streaking 20, 25, 30 yards downfield. So, I think you nailed it as well with the juice thing. You'll see a Florida team motivated, very spirited, come out, and they might even have a first quarter lead, to be honest with you. I don't think it holds. Joy, any chance here at an upset for the Gators? I know you're not like you might a little bit of a Gator hater, but
I'm an equal opportunity hater. I hate everybody in my school. That is what I've been told to say moving forward. But I don't think Florida really has a chance. If you ask really anybody that kind of knows me, they say I'm an LSU fan first and a Georgia fan second. So it could be that I have a little bit of bias. But I just don't. LSU beat Florida, and we're atrocious. And Georgia's not atrocious. So that's like the simplest girl math way I can put it, that no, Florida has no chance.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Joy went to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party last year, and there is a video. Maybe I'll post it of Joy barking, which is amazing for anyone who's interested. Calling the dogs and barking.
So there's
after
video.
Georgia won. It's great. It's great. It's great to be a Georgia Bulldog, Joy.
There's video evidence of three quarters of this panel barking on screen. That's kind of a tough reality, Joy. We gotta live with our sins, I guess. How about you, Dave? Any chance at an upset there?
No, Florida's not good. I'd be more concerned if Billy Napier was still there and it was like his swan song. The players have to win or he's going to be fired. That's not there. The pressure's off. No, I think Georgia just rolls. I don't see this one being close at all. Florida reminds me of kind of a team that has given up on the season and already checked out to whatever is coming up next. Georgia is still in the thick of everything. So now I think Kirby Smart and the Dogs roll. I see Nash on the comments. He has a video out as well that's well known by the OU fan base after OU Texas in 23. Nice meltdown, Nash. Always glad to have you on, brother. Good to see you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's hard to disagree, man. I just can't see it happening. Not enough juice in the Gator tank. At some point, Kirby gets that secondary and they take a step up, a very noticeable step up. Again, a lot of teams outside of mine have, they've taken a defensive step up when they played Florida. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Georgia in a rout here at all, but it's only a 7-point spread. Kind of thought it'd be more like 10, 12, somewhere in there, which they know more than I do. So it makes me worry just a little bit. All right, one more game we're going to touch on. We'll get these guys out of here. Dave, big one last week, big one this week, big one next week, the week after. They're all very, very big for Oklahoma right now. first trip to Neyland Stadium since the overtime win with Baker Mayfield, if I'm not mistaken. A pretty dang good game. So Sooners got down a couple scores early and rallied in that one. But yeah, how we feeling, man? Tennessee is very vulnerable right now on the defensive side. A lot of injuries in the secondary. They've given up a lot of points. Pass rush seems to slow down a little bit against the better opponents. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, Joey Aguilar is very good. He's one of the least talked about quarterbacks in the SEC. Tennessee #1 in the SEC in total offense. OU #1 in total defense. Something's got to give, but there's more storylines to this. Josh Heupel, of course, was OU's quarterback in 2000, won a national championship with Bob Stoops. Stayed on to be the OC, ended up getting fired after the 2014 season. The next year, they visit Neyland with new offensive coordinator Lincoln Riley and Baker Mayfield to get that win. So there's some bad blood between Heupel and Oklahoma. They've never quite settled that out. Brent Venables heading into this game, the record really anywhere isn't good. On the road against ranked, at home against ranked. Overall, it's not good. So, yeah, you're right. Tennessee's vulnerable. I think Oklahoma can put up points. John Mateer having surgery showed them against Texas. You better damn well get a run game to help this guy out. He's not going to be Superman like we saw beforehand. And they did. They got Xavier Robinson established last week against Ole Miss, ran for over 100 yards. So that's a new element of the Oklahoma offense I think will help them up in Neyland and maybe open some stuff up downfield for John Mateer, take some pressure off of him. It's all about the start. If they can get off to a good start, get a lead, get the crowd out of it as much as possible, as much as you can in Neyland, I like Oklahoma to at least hang around and give themselves a chance to win. The problem is you got Brent Venables coaching. So even if they're there in the fourth, I don't like the chance of getting over the hump and actually winning the football game because something will happen. There'll be some mistake, some penalty, some turnover that gets them out of the game. So a very stiff challenge. And I think last week, as I said, just started the inevitable about where we're going to be when the season is over. And next week is just one more step in that. I think Oklahoma plays them very close. I think it'll be a really good game to watch. A fun game to watch. If you're an OU fan, probably not because you're going to lose it. And it probably comes down to the end once again. And Josh Heupel makes a decision that Brent Venables doesn't, and that's the difference in the game. But I do think it's close, but I got Tennessee winning in Neyland.
Well said, man. And I get why, people are down right now. I mean, it's a little bit of the same old. John, you walked into Neyland and left this year with a victory. You think the Sooners can do it as well?
No, I don't think the Sooners can do it. And the reason being is because I don't think Georgia should have done it. And just being completely candid, I think Josh Heupel, one of the things that he, we're all talking about, we've talked about this all night, and Dave just mentioned it again, and I'll mention it again. Josh Heupel is one of those guys it's taken him it took him a couple of years, but last year he seemed to make a lot of progress. This year he's made a lot of progress of just when it's winning time. Like he figures out like how to keep coaching, keep playing, keep making adjustments, keep finding ways to keep his team in the game. Now they're not going to win them all, right? But Georgia last year was a good example where Tennessee came in to Sanford Stadium, had a lead at halftime, and Georgia shut down Tennessee last year in the second half. Something that Kirby Smart had done year after year after year for Josh Heupel. I think Tennessee had scored like 2 touchdowns in 4 games versus Georgia. But those 2 touchdowns came in the fourth quarter. And so I don't, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know what's changed in terms of Josh Heupel, but I think like he's figured out when Georgia in that middle 8 this year, Georgia shut down Tennessee, and we thought, here it goes. Georgia comes out in the third quarter, does a Kirby death march, 15 plays down the field, runs it like 10 times in a row, and we thought, yep, all right, this has happened every year the last 4 years. We've just come out in the second half and just beat the brakes off of this football team and shut down Josh Heupel, and that didn't happen this year. And I think Joey Aguilar had a lot to do with that. I think Tennessee, their skill players, Chris Brazel, Mike Matthews, some of those guys. And I just think Oklahoma, again, watching what Lane Kiffin was able to do, it's just a tough task to go into Neyland and win. And it's a tougher task when Josh Heupel has figured out like how to weather a storm. If you do, used to be able to get Tennessee on their heels with Josh Heupel those first couple of years, and you got them on their heels, and the avalanche was coming. And that doesn't seem to be the makeup of this Tennessee football team, and that's why I think, Brent Venables, again, love the guy, but I think he's going to get outcoached again in the second half.
Very high on Josh Heupel. Got a lot of respect for the guy as a play caller, the way that he runs out schemes. He makes it difficult on everybody just because of the way that they align themselves, the way that they get lined up out there. They're going to have the wide splits. So I want to see how Brent Venables counters that. Can Tennessee have success in the run game with a really good Oklahoma front, the way that they've had success with everybody else? And if they don't, that's where I start to think, okay, Oklahoma can definitely win this game. Well said, Dave. You got to give the ball to Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock a lot this week. You're thinking, right? You got to hammer those guys because, one, that's going to help out John Mateer in the passing game because Tennessee can be beaten down till there. Saw what Gunnar Stockton did to him and a few others. But also that Tennessee's, I don't think they really are built to really run away from anyone. So I think you'll see a really, really good game in this one. Whoever runs the ball the best, I hate to be super coach speaky, but whoever runs the ball the best probably wins. How about you, Joy? Who are you pulling for in this one? I want to know that.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm pulling for anyone specifically. I don't know. Tennessee, I'll just pick one. Maybe the one that I think has the chance to go further, because I don't think Oklahoma does. But yeah, no, y'all kind of said everything that needed to be said. Tennessee, it's really hard to walk into Neyland and take away a victory. I was at the Georgia-Tennessee game this year. I watched that whole thing play out in person. It's an intimidating place to play. And if you don't play near perfection, you're not walking out of that place alive. And that's far from what Oklahoma has been playing lately. So, yeah, I have to take Tennessee in that horrific orange color they wear.
Here's the problem, Cord. You just said whoever runs the ball is going to win, and OU needs to establish it and pound it. That's been known, dude, for like 6 weeks in Norman, and they refuse to do it. Last week, they were running the ball in Ole Miss, inexplicably go away from it at the most critical time in the game. So, yeah, there's a formula there to go in Neyland and win on the ground. They've got the guys to do it, and the offensive line is coming together. But that has been said for weeks and weeks, and they refuse to stick to it. So there are so many things to point to with Oklahoma that's problematic. Weird to say about a 6-2 team that theoretically is still right in the thick of everything. But last week, in a vacuum, it was one loss, but man, it feels bigger than that.
I mean, and I hate to bring it up, but the SEC Shorts version of when they got the Sooners was pretty dang funny because they essentially called them Walking Dead. I'm not going to go that far, but like you just said, it felt like the last week was one you had to find that one, set yourself up for these last 3 games. They're going to be really, really difficult. So John is joining his own show right now, so that's why John just had to hop off. So thank you to John for joining. Dave, thank you. Daily Joy, thank you. If you like John's SEC Pretty Hat, which I know you did, you can contact Daily Joy. She's on Twitter at DailyFJoy, I believe. If I'm wrong, correct me there. But yeah, y'all go check out Joy and what she has with her new growing brand. It's been doing tremendously. It's fun to watch all of that. Dave, thank you, my man. Always fun having you on. We'll catch you next time here on Old Inside Texas. Good luck to most of your teams this weekend. Love you, Dave, but I can't say that. Can't say that for yours. Y'all have a good night.
See you guys.